The sky above Earth was a deep shade of blue when the first signs of something unusual appeared. At first, it was just a small, flickering light in the distance, but as the moments passed, more lights joined in. Soon, a fleet of giant, silver ships filled the sky, their smooth surfaces shining brightly in the sunlight. They hovered, perfectly still, creating an eerie silence that spread over cities, towns, and forests. The people below looked up in awe, some with fear, others with curiosity. In the center of New York City, Mark stood on the rooftop of a tall building, squinting at the ships above. Mark was a commander for the Earth Defense Forces, a job that required quick thinking and courage. He had trained for years to protect his home, but this was something he had never prepared for. The ships were unlike anything humans had seen, shiny and silent, with shapes that looked both familiar and foreign. He knew this was the moment that would define his life and possibly the future of humanity. All over the world, people stopped what they were doing and turned to look at the sky. News channels quickly picked up the story, reporting the arrival of these mysterious visitors. The aliens didn't communicate in any way that people could understand at first, but their presence spoke volumes. They were here, and they wanted humanity to know it. After hours of waiting, a single ship slowly descended to a clearing outside a major city. It was bigger than a football field, and when it touched down, a low hum spread through the air. Mark and his team watched as the ship's doors opened, revealing beings that looked tall and graceful. Their skin shimmered like polished metal, and their eyes were bright and deep, giving off an unnatural glow. They moved with ease, their steps light and almost otherworldly. Mark could tell these beings were not like humans. They were something else entirely. The first message came through, spoken in clear English, but the voice was cold and distant. "We come in peace. We have traveled far to learn from your world and share our knowledge." Mark listened closely, his mind racing. They spoke of knowledge, of new ways to look at the universe, but there was something strange in their tone. It was as if they were speaking to children, showing a little kindness, but only because they thought they were much better. Human leaders gathered quickly to discuss the next move. There were whispers of fear, arguments about how best to respond. But Mark knew one thing. Earth had never faced anything like this. These visitors were strong, far more advanced than humans, but they made a mistake. They underestimated humanity. As the aliens stepped out of their ship, their eyes scanned the crowd of people. They seemed to take in the sight of humans, their faces showing no emotion. They looked at Mark, a soldier who had fought battles and survived harsh conditions, and smiled in a way that was almost mocking. To them, humans were simple and weak, creatures who would never match their strength or intelligence. But Mark stood tall, determined. He knew that the aliens thought they had all the answers. They believed they had seen the strongest and smartest of the universe. But he felt a flicker of something deep inside him, a feeling that maybe, just maybe, they had underestimated Earth and its people. Earth's strength came from its people, from their grit, their will to survive, and the challenges they faced every day. And no alien technology or strength could ever take that away. As the first meeting began, Mark looked at the aliens. He knew this was just the beginning. They had come in peace, but peace was never simple. It was going to be a battle of strength, will, and what it really meant to be a survivor. And Earth was ready to show them just that. The sun rose the next morning, casting long shadows across the city streets. The world was still waking up, but the people knew that today was not just another day. The aliens had come, and they were not going away. News crews surrounded the landing site, cameras flashing as they captured every moment. The aliens stood tall and silent, their eyes glistening as they scanned the crowd of humans below. They were waiting, almost as if they knew the people would come to them. Mark stood with other leaders and military officials in a makeshift command center set up nearby. He could see the alien fleet hovering in the sky, a sight that made his heart pound. He was surrounded by people who shared his nervous excitement. They were about to meet beings with technology and knowledge far beyond what humans had ever dreamed of. Mark took a deep breath and reminded himself that he was not just there for his own people, but for everyone on Earth. The leader of the aliens stepped forward, his movements fluid and confident. His voice rang out, strong and clear. "We come with the wish to share our knowledge and learn from you. We have watched your world for many years, and we see potential in your people." Mark nodded, taking in the speech. He understood what was happening. The aliens had studied Earth. They had watched its people, but they didn't really understand them. They thought humans were weak, primitive creatures who could only learn from others. But Mark knew that wasn't true. Humans were survivors, clever and strong in ways the aliens could never understand. The leader's name was never said, but his presence alone made people uneasy. He had a proud way of standing, as if he could look down on anyone he chose. The humans were told to gather and speak with them. Mark stepped forward as the human representative. He looked the alien in the eye, not showing fear, only determination. "I am Commander Mark. We welcome you to Earth, but we have questions too. What do you want from us? And why did you come here?" The alien leader's eyes narrowed, but he spoke with calm. "We wish to make an alliance. We seek to share knowledge and advance together. Your world has power that we want to understand. You have resources, yes, but most of all, you have something we need, your spirit." There was a moment of silence. The people listening to the exchange felt the weight of the words. The aliens, with all their technology, were speaking of spirit as if it were a rare gem. They thought they understood Earth, but they didn't know what made its people truly powerful. "Spirit," Mark said, his voice firm. "What do you mean by that?" The alien leader tilted his head slightly, almost as if amused by the question. "Your resilience, the ability to face challenges, to survive against the odds. We have studied your world, and we know that it is not just technology or science that keeps you alive. It is the human spirit that makes you strong." Mark felt a spark of pride. The aliens were starting to see, but they didn't fully understand. It was the first sign that they had underestimated the people of Earth. Just then, a voice came through Mark's communicator. "Commander, we have an update. One of the alien ships is broadcasting a signal. It's not just to us. It's going out to all human networks." Mark turned and nodded. The aliens were speaking, and the world was listening. The speech continued, but this time there was a shift. The aliens were trying to connect, to show their willingness to work together, but Mark could see the way they watched the crowd, cold, calculating, as if they were waiting for the humans to show their hand. The battle for understanding had begun, and Earth was only just starting to fight. The days that followed the aliens' arrival were filled with meetings and discussions. Humans and aliens spoke through interpreters and translators, their conversations formal and cautious. The alien leader, who the humans started calling Eric, continued to speak about the possibility of an alliance. He made it clear that while he valued Earth's spirit, he was eager to see if it matched the technology and intelligence of his own people. One afternoon, Eric invited the leaders of Earth to witness a demonstration. He claimed it would be a test of strength and skill, showing that the aliens were ready to share their advanced technology. Mark, still unsure about the aliens' true intentions, felt a mix of excitement and concern. He knew this was more than just a show. It was a chance for both sides to learn about each other. The demonstration took place in a wide open space surrounded by tall metal towers that gleamed under the sunlight. The aliens brought their own equipment, technology that hummed with energy and glowed with strange light. They set up a series of tasks that involved lifting heavy objects, high-speed races, and complex physical challenges. The humans, led by Mark and a team of soldiers and athletes, prepared to show what they could do. As the competition began, the aliens stood to the side, their glowing eyes watching with thinly veiled curiosity. They moved with grace and ease, their muscles clearly designed for a lighter world, one with less gravity than Earth's. The humans, on the other hand, moved with determination, using every ounce of strength they had. The first challenge was weightlifting. The aliens brought out a massive metal block that hovered a few feet off the ground, suspended by anti-gravity technology. One by one, the alien athletes stepped forward, easily lifting the block as if it were a toy. They showed no strain, no sign of effort. The crowd of humans watched, a mixture of awe and doubt in their eyes. Then it was Mark's turn. He approached the block, sweat already forming on his brow. He bent down, took a deep breath, and lifted. His muscles strained, but he pushed forward, feeling the weight of Earth's gravity working against him. With one final powerful push, he set the block down. The crowd roared with applause, and even Orcs' expression shifted. The second challenge was a race, but this was no ordinary race. The aliens used special suits that allowed them to move faster than any human. The humans, without special technology, lined up on the starting line. The signal was given, and the race began. The aliens sped ahead, their movements almost a blur. The humans struggled at first, their legs heavy and slower than their opponents. But as the race continued, they pushed harder. The alien suits could only do so much. They couldn't make up for the natural, raw power of the human body. The humans ran with everything they had, muscles burning, hearts pounding. In the final stretch, one human athlete, named Lisa, surged forward, crossing the finish line just a second before an alien did. The crowd erupted in cheers. Arak's eyes were wide with surprise. He had underestimated them. He had believed that the aliens, with their advanced technology and sleek bodies, would outshine the humans in every challenge. But Earth's gravity, which had shaped every human's strength and will, had proven itself to be a powerful force. Mark stood tall, catching his breath. He looked at Arak, who was now studying him with newfound respect. This was just the beginning, but it was a sign. The aliens had come expecting to find Earth weak and easy to conquer, but they were starting to realize that Earth and its people were more powerful than they had ever imagined. The results of the first demonstration spread quickly across the world. News outlets, social media, and even the smallest village radio stations talked about the unexpected outcome. Humans had outperformed the aliens in a few key tests, leaving the extraterrestrial visitors stunned. It was a small victory, but one that fueled the hope and pride of people everywhere. Mark, however, knew that this was just the beginning. The aliens were not going to back down. They were calculating their next move. The next day, Arak sent a message through the network, a new challenge for humanity. "We have seen what you are capable of," he said, his voice calm but sharp. "But true strength is more than just muscle and speed. We invite you to another test, one that will require all of your skill, courage, and teamwork." Mark stood at the command center with a team of soldiers and athletes. They were called to participate in the next test, which was set to take place in an arena built by the aliens. It was a massive, dome-like structure with glowing lights and intricate metal pathways that seemed to float midair. Mark took a deep breath as he looked around at the faces of his team. They were ready, but he could see the tension in their eyes. The first challenge in the new test was a series of endurance trials. The aliens set up platforms that moved and twisted, creating a maze of obstacles that tested balance and strength. Humans had to run, jump, and climb, pushing themselves as fast as they could to make it to the end. The aliens were quick to start, their bodies moving like they were made to glide across the ground. Their muscles worked like finely tuned machines, but they were not used to the weight and struggle of Earth's gravity. Mark's team, including Lisa, who had surprised everyone in the race, made their way through the challenge. They fell, they stumbled, and at times they thought they could not go on. But they pushed through. The human body was designed to take hits, to fall and get back up, to adapt and overcome. Each time one of them fell, another would reach out a hand, helping them up. The aliens watched, their expressions unreadable, but their eyes never left the humans. They had not expected this level of determination and teamwork. The final part of the endurance challenge was a climb up a vertical wall that seemed to stretch into the sky. It was covered in smooth metal panels that seemed impossible to grip. The aliens took one look at the wall and took off, their suits allowing them to soar up like birds. Humans, however, could not rely on such technology. They pushed and pulled, using their feet and hands to find any small hold they could. Mark reached out for the top, muscles aching, fingers slipping, and just when he thought he could not go on, Lisa's hand grabbed his wrist. With her help, Mark pushed himself up, and the rest of the team followed. The crowd of humans watching from the sidelines cheered and clapped as they reached the top. The aliens, who had been confident in their superiority, stood in stunned silence. They had underestimated the power of the human spirit, the drive to keep going even when the odds were against them. Arak stepped forward, his eyes fixed on Mark. "We did not expect this," he admitted. His voice was different now, less certain, more thoughtful. It was a small sign that the aliens were beginning to understand just how strong Earth's people really were. Mark looked out at the arena, his heart pounding with victory. This was just the beginning, but it was enough to show that Earth was more than a planet to conquer. It was a world filled with people who would never give up, no matter what challenge they faced. The arena was filled with a strange kind of silence as the humans and aliens looked at each other. The aliens, with their polished skin and glowing eyes, were no longer as confident as before. They had come expecting to prove their strength and superiority, but instead they were seeing the spirit of Earth's people, a spirit that no technology could replace. Arak stood tall and still, looking at Mark and the rest of the team. His expression was hard to read, but his eyes held a flicker of something like respect. Mark could feel the change in the air. The aliens were not just here to show off their strength anymore. They were starting to understand that Earth was more than just a primitive world. They were beginning to see that the humans were not easy to beat. In the days that followed, there were new challenges set by the aliens. They were more difficult than before and designed to test not just strength, but the minds and teamwork of the humans. Mark and his team trained hard, pushing themselves and learning from their earlier victories and mistakes. The aliens watched, their eyes following every move. They sent messages to their own people, speaking in their strange language, but Mark could tell from their gestures and body language that something was changing. They were talking more, questioning their earlier beliefs. One afternoon, Arak announced a new kind of challenge. This one was different from the physical tests before. It was a task that required humans and aliens to work together. The challenge was simple in words but difficult in practice. They were to create a way to solve a puzzle that involved moving a giant, glowing object through a maze filled with traps and sudden drops. The object needed to be moved carefully so that it didn't touch the dangerous sections of the maze. The humans looked at each other, unsure at first. They had never worked with the aliens in such close ways before. Mark stood at the front of his team, looking at Arak. "This time, we'll need to trust each other," he said. Arak nodded, and for the first time, a small smile broke through his serious expression. The challenge began. The aliens used their technology to make the object float, moving it smoothly over the maze. The humans, without any advanced tools, had to guide the object and protect it as it moved through the maze. It was hard work, requiring every bit of skill, communication, and teamwork they had. The aliens seemed surprised by the way the humans worked together, yelling out directions and warnings to each other. Lisa spotted a problem. A narrow section of the maze that could easily trap the object if they were not careful. She pointed it out, shouting to the others. The aliens hesitated for a moment, unsure if they should trust her. But then Arak gave a small nod. The aliens shifted their approach, slowing down as they moved through that part, and Mark and his team adjusted their position to keep the object steady. As they reached the end, the humans and aliens worked in unison, guiding the object through the final, tricky part of the maze. When it finally passed through, the crowd erupted in cheers. The humans and aliens exchanged looks, and there was a shift in the air. The aliens, who had come to Earth expecting to show their power, were learning that true strength was more than just advanced technology. It was the ability to work together, to trust each other, and to fight for something greater than oneself. Arak looked at Mark again, this time with something like admiration. The commander of Earth's defense knew that the aliens had come to see Earth as weak, but they were learning that Earth's greatest power was the people themselves. It was a turning point, one that would change everything. As weeks turned into months, the people of Earth and the aliens, who now called themselves the Zerithians, began to understand each other better. The initial tension had faded, replaced by a cautious respect. Mark and Arak had formed an unlikely bond, working together to find a path forward. Mark learned that the Zerithians were not so different from humans in many ways. They too had struggled with their past, fought wars, and faced challenges. But what made them different was their reliance on technology, which had become their strength and weakness. The humans, on the other hand, were learning that the Zerithians had knowledge far beyond what Earth had ever known. They had learned to bend light, harness energy from stars, and communicate across galaxies. Mark had always thought Earth was the center of everything, but now he saw that there was so much more to the universe. And yet, even with all their advancements, the Zerithians could not understand the heart of what it meant to be human. One day, Mark and his team were invited to the main Zerithian ship. It was unlike anything they had seen before. The walls shimmered with lights, and the air felt alive, buzzing with energy. Arak welcomed them, his eyes bright with interest. "We have seen what your world is capable of," Arak said. "Now, we wish to share something of our own. We want to show you how our technology could help your world." Mark looked around, surprised. The Zerithians were offering a gift, but he couldn't help but feel there was more to it. "What kind of help?" he asked cautiously. Arak stepped forward, raising a hand to signal his team. A holographic image appeared, showing a map of the stars with different points glowing. "This is a map of the galaxy. We have the power to share technology that will allow you to travel faster than light. It would change everything. You could explore, learn, and defend your world like never before." Mark's heart raced, faster than light travel. It was beyond anything humans had imagined. It would open up the universe, give them a chance to explore, and strengthen their place among the stars. But something didn't sit right with him. Why now? Why offer this to Earth? Why would you share this with us? Mark asked, his voice steady but filled with suspicion. Arak's eyes met Mark's, and for a moment, Mark saw a flicker of doubt in them. "Because we have seen what you are capable of. You have proven that strength is more than just power. It's what comes from within. The way your people work together, fight for each other, that is something we cannot build with technology alone." Mark's mind raced. The Zerithians had come to Earth expecting to find a weak and primitive world, but they had found something different. They had found a world of people who, when pushed, would rise together. It was this human spirit that had caught Arak's attention. "What do you expect in return?" Mark asked. Arak's smile was thin but honest. "Nothing. We are sharing this knowledge freely. But there is one condition. You must promise that you will use this gift to protect, not conquer. We do not want the strength of Earth to become a tool for war." The promise hung in the air, heavy with meaning. Mark looked around at his team, the people who had pushed their bodies and minds to show the aliens what Earth was made of. He knew that Earth had won this round, but it was not over. It was a new beginning. The challenge now was to keep the promise they had made. Mark nodded slowly. "We accept, and we will honor this gift with all the strength we have." Arak's expression softened, and the two leaders shook hands. For the first time, the Zerithians and the people of Earth shared a moment of true understanding. The path ahead was uncertain, but it was the first step toward a future that held more promise than ever before. And somewhere in the crowd, Lisa watched, knowing that Earth had come out stronger than anyone could have imagined. The battle was far from over, but Earth had found its place among the stars. The days after the Alliance announcement were filled with excitement and worry. People across Earth celebrated the new future that lay before them, filled with possibilities that had only been dreamed of before. The Zerithians shared blueprints and technology that, at first, seemed like magic. Devices that could draw energy from the sun, tools to heal the sick in moments, and ships that could move faster than light. Earth was changing, and so were its people. But not everyone was happy. Some governments and powerful groups were uneasy. They feared what this new alliance meant for their power and control. The promise of peace was powerful, but so was the temptation to use this newfound knowledge for gain. Mark knew that their biggest challenge was not the technology, but how humanity would use it. He spent long hours speaking with leaders from around the world, reminding them of their promise to Arak and the Zerithians. It was a promise to use the gifts for good, to protect, not to conquer. Lisa, who had become a symbol of human resilience, walked through the crowded streets, hearing the chatter and laughter of people who were starting to believe in a future they had never imagined. A small child passed by, holding a toy spaceship with bright lights and sounds. Lisa smiled, thinking about how different the world would be for the next generation. But in the back of her mind, she remembered the look on Arak's face when he first revealed the technology. There had been a shadow there, a hint of doubt that made Lisa wonder. The Zerithians were not known for their emotions, but she had seen it, even if only for a moment. She wondered if there were more to their intentions than what they showed. Meanwhile, Arak and Mark continued to meet in secret, away from the eyes of the media and politicians. The people of Earth have proven themselves to be strong, Arak said, his voice low and thoughtful. But we must make sure that this strength is not used to bring harm to the galaxy. There are others who will see this as a threat. Mark's brow furrowed. Others? Who? Arak paused, his eyes flicking to the stars outside the wide window of the meeting room. There are many civilizations out there, each with their own desires and fears. Some of them are not as peaceful as we are. If Earth becomes too strong, it could draw attention that we don't want. Mark leaned forward, the weight of the warning sinking in. You think we could be a target? Arak nodded, his expression serious. It's possible. That is why we are here, to prepare you and to stand by your side. But Earth must be careful. Your people's greatest strength is also their greatest risk. Mark took a deep breath, understanding at last what Arak meant. Earth had come a long way, but it was still vulnerable in many ways. The alliance had brought new hope, but it also came with the shadow of potential danger. He stood, looking out the window at the bustling city below, the sun shining bright and full of promise. We'll be ready, Mark said, with a resolve that echoed in his voice. And we will not fail. As the day turned to night, the sky was filled with the glow of stars, and the people of Earth looked up, hopeful but unaware of what might come. The promise of peace and the thrill of discovery were on the horizon, but so were the challenges and dangers that came with them. And deep in the quiet places of space, unseen and waiting, others watched Earth, knowing that a new chapter had begun, and that the story of Earth and the Zerithians was far from over. The days after the promise to use the new technology wisely were both thrilling and tense. Across Earth, cities were being transformed. New machines that could harness the power of the sun were making energy free for all. Medicine that could heal in moments was being tested and shared. People were hopeful, but Mark knew that this newfound power came with responsibility. He kept a close eye on world leaders and watched for signs of misuse or greed. One evening, as Mark sat in the command center going over reports, a strange alert flashed on the screen. It was a signal, a strange kind of energy pulse coming from deep space. It was different from the Zerithian technology. It had an edge, a feeling of hostility. Mark's eyes narrowed as he read the data. This was not from the Zerithians, nor was it a natural occurrence. He picked up the communicator. Lisa, get to the command center now, he said, his voice steady but firm. Within minutes, Lisa appeared, her face set with concern. Mark pointed at the screen, where the pulse was now spreading like a wave. What is that? She asked. I don't know, but it's not good. The Zerithians are aware of it too. They're sending an emergency message. The room went quiet as the message came through. Arak's face appeared on the screen, serious and more grave than Mark had ever seen. Humans, we have detected an unknown force approaching. It is not from our people, nor any we have encountered before. This is a threat unlike anything we have faced. Mark felt a chill run through him. He had always known that there were dangers in space, but this was different. This was real, and it was coming. The Zerithians had brought knowledge, but it was clear now that Earth was still learning how to protect itself. Are we ready? Mark asked Lisa, who had been a vital part of training the people and preparing them for any challenge. We've trained hard, but we don't know what we're up against, she replied, the weight of her words heavy in the room. Arak's voice came back, stronger. We will fight together. The galaxy must stand as one. If this force succeeds, it will not stop at Earth. Mark took a deep breath. There was no time to waste. He turned to the team around him, all eyes focused and determined. We have come far, but now we face the greatest test of all. We must unite, not just with the Zerithians, but with every person on Earth. We stand as one, or we fall alone. The crowd gathered in front of screens around the world, watching the warning. People felt fear, but also a deep sense of unity. This was not just about the Zerithians or Earth. It was a fight for all life. The pulse grew stronger, and the sky began to glow in strange, shifting colors. The world held its breath, ready for whatever was coming. Far away, in the dark corners of space, a ship moved silently toward Earth. Its surface was like dark metal, covered in jagged lines and glowing symbols. It was not like any ship Mark had ever seen. And as the first whispers of fear spread through Earth, one thing was clear. The real battle was just beginning. The night sky above Earth had changed. The stars, which once seemed so calm and far away, now looked like distant witnesses to the chaos that had begun. Mark stood at the command center, his eyes fixed on the screens that showed views of the dark, alien ship approaching. It was unlike anything he had seen before. The ship's dark, jagged shape seemed almost alive, glowing with an eerie red light. He could hear the anxious voices of his team, but the noise felt distant, as if the world had paused. "Mark, we're ready," Lisa said, stepping beside him. Her eyes, usually full of hope and strength, now showed a flicker of worry. He nodded. The world was on the brink, and the fate of billions depended on them. The Zerithians were ready to fight too. Ships of silver and blue surrounded the dark alien ship, their lights flashing as they prepared. Arak's voice came through the communicator, steady and commanding. "We will not let Earth fall," he said. "Together, we fight." The first attack came in the form of pulses that sliced through space, creating waves of energy that made the air crackle. Humans and Zerithians, working side by side, launched their own defenses. Rockets fired, lasers lit the night, and the sound of engines roared. The battle was unlike anything Earth had seen. The aliens, strong and precise, fought with a cold efficiency. But the humans, fueled by the need to protect their home, fought with everything they had. Mark watched as Lisa and her team moved through the chaos, leading the charge. Her hands moved swiftly, pressing buttons and shouting commands. The sound of explosions and the glow of lights filled the room, but Mark could still hear the thumping of his heart, each beat a reminder of what was at stake. Suddenly, a bright flash lit the sky, and a wave of energy shot out from the dark ship. The blast hit one of the Zerithian ships, sending it spinning out of control. A gasp went through the command center as people realized the danger. The Zerithians, powerful as they were not invincible. "We need to hit it now," Lisa shouted. Mark looked up and saw the weak point on the dark ship, a small section glowing red. It was their chance. "Everyone, fire on my mark," Mark ordered. The team held their breath, waiting for the right moment. Mark's hand hovered over the control panel. He looked at Lisa and saw her nod, ready to go. "Now." Mark shouted. A storm of lasers and missiles erupted from Earth's defenses and Xerithian ships, lighting up the sky like fireworks. The dark ship shuddered, the red glow flickering and dimming. The aliens inside had not expected this fight. They were strong, but they had underestimated Earth's power. The power of unity, determination, and the will to protect home. The dark ship broke apart, glowing shards falling into the atmosphere and burning bright like falling stars. The silence that followed was deafening. The people in the command center stared, waiting for the next move, but it did not come. The ship was destroyed. The world watched in stunned silence as the sky returned to its natural state. The dark threat was over, and Earth had won. Mark looked at Lisa and the others, their faces filled with relief and exhaustion. They had faced the greatest challenge and had come out victorious. Arak's voice came through the communicator again. You have shown the galaxy what it means to fight. Earth is no longer just a world to watch. It is a world to respect. Mark looked out at the Earth below, the blue and green planet that was now a symbol of hope. The battle was over, but a new chapter had begun. Earth had faced its first great test and passed, standing stronger than ever before. And somewhere in the distance, stars shone brighter, watching as Earth prepared for whatever came next.